Welcome to CMA Live, presented by SiriusXM, brought to you by CanadianMobileAudio.com, featuring the top industry professionals from across North America. Brought to you by executive producer Frank Spezzano. Now, let's get connected with your host, Ben Wu.
Hey guys, what's going on? Thanks for joining us on this beautiful Wednesday evening. Believe it or not, we're already on episode 3. Who would have thunk that? I'll tell you what, I'm your host, Ben Wu. Thanks for joining CMA Live tonight, presented by SiriusXM. Of course, I'd like to start off this episode, as always, plugging a very important sponsor of ours, which is, of course, SiriusXM. That's where moments happen, and you'll find them here 24/7 in music, talk, sports, comedy, and news, live and on demand. They're on your car, online, or on the app, so you won't miss a thing. Make sure you visit SiriusXM.ca/never miss a beat. Guys, I'll tell you what, we've done some pretty cool shows so far. You know, it's a new show, and every week we're trying to work out the kinks and trying to streamline the content and get the right guest and, you know, get the right subject matter across, because, you know, we're CMA. We're the CanadianMobileAudio.com website. We're trying to bring you guys, you know, the industry guys, the content that you want to hear. Well, I'll tell you what, when it comes to content, tonight's theme for me and for the team here at CMA is definitely at the top of the list, because we're celebrating. We are celebrating achievement, but more importantly, we are celebrating Canadian achievement. And what we're talking about is, of course, the annual Top 50 Installer Awards brought to you by the Mobile Electronics Association. We found glory in the past. You know, our current winner, Mr. Tim Baillie, who is no stranger to the industries, of course, going to be joining us tonight, and along with 5 installers from across Canada who will be coming in. We'll get to know them. We'll get to see about their journey. We'll give them an opportunity to tell us their story, and most importantly, we're going to learn how we can encourage them and how we can support them, and hopefully get them to the top. Because for sure we're proud of them. That's first and foremost. And you know what? Good on us and good on the Canadian industry and good on these installers to be able to showcase what we can do on a North American level when it comes to fabrication, custom installation, and everything of the sort. So, you know, our first guest for this evening practically needs no introduction. But to be proper and to be professional, we will, of course, introduce him. He's been around a long time, and we're going to let him tell us a little bit more about his history. You've seen his name on the poster, Mr. Chris Cook, obviously president of Mobile Electronics Association, ME Mag, as well as KnowledgeFest, a critical, you know, a pillar really in our industry. And we are more than thrilled and honored to have him on with us tonight. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Chris on with us.
Hey,
Mr.
man,
Chris
how you
Cook.
doing?
Welcome to CMA Live.
Hey, thanks for welcoming me to Canada. I didn't bring a coat. I hope it's not too cold.
You know, oh, it's not too cold at all. We're still, you know, at the end of summer, and you know, unfortunately, the opportunities that we have to connect in person obviously aren't there right now. But thank goodness we have formats like this that we could still connect and get up to date and find out what's going on in the world of Mobile Electronics Association. First of all, how have you been? Obviously, it's been a rock and roll, weird, you know, season with COVID. Before you say anything, the first thing I want to do is applaud you and your organization for keeping us informed, what's going on, trying to stay on top of the whole COVID situation. And before we get into that, I wanted to say thank you for that. I think you've been doing a really great job being a leader in that field. Now,
I appreciate that.
Before anything else, the first thing I want to dive into is, who is Chris Cook? And you know, obviously you're the president of MEA, but you know, how did you get there? What is your history? Let's give the folks at home a little bit of a history on Mr.
Look,
Chris Cook.
I'll give you the 2 to 5 minute tour.
Sure.
I started out in this industry when I was 18 years old with an uncle that gave me a job doing van conversion. So, to be honest, I started in this industry as a fabricator with no electronics experience. And then I just happened to be the guy that learned how to connect things in the van and started putting in the stereos and the radar detectors, taking things apart. And well, van conversion was fun. I wanted a little bit more. I started working on my own car. And one day I walked out of the shop, went down the road, asked for a job at the first car audio shop that I popped into, ended up getting a manager role. Manager role was really cool. The guy gave me a shop. It was a 1950s Texaco station that had absolutely nothing in it, no installers, no employees. Gave me a PO book, a checkbook, and said, call me if you need anything. And that's how I got started in the mobile electronics industry. From there, I spent some time at Circuit City. I ran the top Circuit City road shop in the country. We ran anywhere from 400 to 600 cars a month through that shop. And it was an art form. I had many installers go through there. We on average had anywhere from 10 to 12 installers working for me, as well as a pretty robust sales team. From there, I kind of got tired of retail. No offense to anybody that's in retail, but I felt like if I saw one more customer, I might, do something I wouldn't be proud of. So I decided I'd take the next step and go to work for a manufacturer. And the first one that I started with was pretty interesting, Whistler Corporation, supporting both radar and on the other side, their security systems that came out. While not the best security system, it certainly was a great learning experience. And I got to sell a lot of remote starters and hang out in Canada. My first introduction to Canada was going to Toronto, and I've been everywhere from coast to coast in Canada. I have plenty of Canadian frozen blood left in me, and I love to go up there and vacation. So,
That's how you say frozen blood, but these guys in BC don't get to see a lot of snow. They have really nice weather down there. But it's good to know you've traveled a lot and you know Canada well.
Yeah, New England is a snow machine as well. I live in the New England area in Massachusetts. And, so I've worked for several different manufacturers. As working at different manufacturers, I have developed products that have won 4 different CES Innovation Awards. I am also, just for the record, master installer, and have never won an award for any installation, but enjoyed being part of the awards.
Well, you know what? I love the fact that you're an installer. I didn't know that. That's news for me. Show me that again. What did you just pull up there? That was so fast. Pull that up again. Look at that. Master installer. Imagine that. Excellent. Well, for those of you that didn't know.
Yeah, so that's an honorary master certificate. I actually worked for the MECP program and ran it for 2 or 3 years, and then went to work for the Consumer Electronics Association, now Consumer Technology Association, the folks that run CES. And I managed a board of leaders and the industry from there for about 5 years. And then got bored, but wanted to go back into the industry and build something. And built a few connectivity devices to add iPod and Bluetooth and HD radio and satellite radio to your vehicle. Did that for several companies. Consulted for a while, did a lot of patent research and things of that nature, some business consulting. And then out of the blue about, 11, 12 years ago, I ran into was a friend of mine at the time, industry friend, Tony Franciosa, who had talked about buying this organization called MIRA, Mobile Electronics Retailers Association, and asked me what I thought. Well, I told him what I thought, and it probably wasn't the best speech I ever gave, because at the time I wasn't a big fan, but I found myself a month later running the association, and that was back in 2009. And here we are, 10, 12, 13, 15 KnowledgeFests ahead of that. We celebrated our 10th year in Dallas. I also spent time before that as the editor of Mobile Electronics Magazine. I did that for 2.5 years after my predecessor, Solomon Daniels. And then as the association, Mobile Electronics Association, we purchased Mobile Electronics Magazine and hired Solomon Daniels back. Unfortunately, but fortunately for him, he's gone off to do some other things great for the industry. And we certainly appreciate his service. And just a shout out for an anniversary. And September 9th, 1999 was the day he started at Mobile Electronics Magazine as the editor. And we certainly appreciated his service. And Solomon is still working on the awards, which we're going to talk about tonight.
Absolutely. So that was a whole lot of information. Thank you for crunching that timeline down. I mean, that was a ton of achievements, a ton of, historic moments that really could take an entire show to discuss. We'll have you back for sure, and we're going to definitely dive into the world of Chris Cook and learn everything about you. But for the purpose of this episode, you mentioned about the awards. Here's what I want to know. Before we talk about the awards, KnowledgeFest. I started the show talking about, how MEA is kind of being on top of things with COVID. What can the industry expect from this Dallas event that's coming up? I see the term KnowledgeFest Live being kind of spoken of.
Yeah,
Can you give us a little detail about that?
There is a lot of different event cannon fodder, if I can use that nice, long, funny sounding word, about people doing virtual events. Essentially what we're doing right now is a virtual event. It's great, except you can't sit next to your buddies and talk at the bar and have that kind of conversation. Networking is a little different. It's really one-on-one and listening to 1, 2, 3, 4, or a dozen people at a time. The main thing that we've learned from COVID is the importance of family, the importance of friends, especially our industry friends, the importance of having enough food, and if nothing else, make sure you had plenty of this for COVID. I don't know why. Still trying to figure it out. But, that's COVID. But when it comes to an event, everything, we talked about, essential workers. And we had to figure out what an essential worker was. Then we had to figure out, who can go to work and who can't go to work and how can you go to work? And, are you wearing plastic bags? Are you wearing a mask? Are you behind glass? There's just so many different variables that we had to help the industry work through. And then the financial variables as well for shops that were shut down to help them, save money and do things to make it through. And now our industry is experiencing some great business. But KnowledgeFest Live, you ask about that. And just like your first install or the first year of a vehicle that you get in the shop, you got to take it apart and figure it out. And that's what we're doing right now. We're testing different things in live format. You'll see us doing our learning from leaders. You'll see us doing different webinars. We've used different platforms. I think we found a platform that we feel can produce a live event. But this is going to be a hybrid event. And that's why we say live. So we're going to be broadcasting live from Dallas, Lord willing. Right now, the city of Dallas has given us a green light to do the event in December 4th through 6th. And I'm going to do my best to have a conversation with your Canadian Prime Minister, get everything squared away so you guys can come down and hang out with us. But what it will be is an event that essentially is a live event, and we may not have as many attendees live at the event, but what we will have is a lot of the manufacturers doing their trainings, a lot of our great education, and all of that will be broadcast live and then available on demand for everybody that attended. So right now, we've surveyed the industry several times. We haven't released the results of the latest survey, but roughly 75 to 80% of people that have attended the Dallas event in the past want to attend it in person. There's about a 10, 15% that said, I might do virtual, I might do in person. It really depends on where COVID is at that time. So, frankly, we're looking for what I feel will be a great event for Dallas. We know how to do it. We've taken all of the care. We've talked to the city of Dallas. We know what the CDC says. We know how to have an event in this environment. And we have logistics companies and everybody that has really worked together to put us in a place where we can come together safe in any environment. I got to say, if you go to this event, you're not going to come home with even a cold.
Perfect. Well, you said something very important in that little spiel about KnowledgeFest Live, and that is about talking about the awards and perhaps airing the awards or broadcasting the award ceremony of that kind. Is that what I heard? Okay.
That is it. We will be broadcasting the awards live from the show on Sunday night, December 6th. And I'm assuming there will probably be some folks that can't attend the event that may win something. And we want to have a way, just like we're doing tonight, that they can come in on the big screen and accept their award. So we're going to do everything we can in this environment to make sure we sustain our event for the industry. Not because we need the money, but because we need our industry together. That's what really makes us strong.
All right. So let's get into the meat and potatoes here. The installer awards. What is the significance? How long has this competition been around?
Oh, man. You asked me that question when you sent me over an email, and I had to go look myself. I had thought it, Solomon and I talked. And what we found is Installation News, which is what the publication was to start with, that started the awards, the magazine, was founded in late 1983. Okay? Solomon became the editor in 1999, and the first actual industry awards that was held was kicked off at KnowledgeFest September 25th, 2000. So we're looking at about 20 years of awards, if you will. This would be our 20th year of the awards banquet and and sitting down, but it became on a formal awards. And the magazine had given out some awards prior to that, but that was the first time that we really had a production. And that was most definitely the first time we had a top 100 or a top 50 or a top anything as we go through the competition. That was something that Solomon created when he became the editor of the magazine, and it has lived on since then.
Okay. So now that we know how long it's been around, every year, or maybe it's changed over the years, but how many nominees and how does one get nominated? How does an installer even get nominated?
Well, we've kind of morphed that process over the years for better participation. And frankly, what you do is you get on, you go to nominate, and you can nominate yourself, and then you would have somebody second the nomination, if you will. But the nomination yourself is creating a short 5-minute video and answering some questions, giving us a tour of your store, your shop, your installs, things of that nature, so we see who you are. And, when we first started the video thing, nobody wanted to be on camera. I don't want to do that. I just, can I just walk around with the phone? You don't have to see me. And it's morphed into people doing full video productions. I mean, when it comes out, I love watching all the videos and what our industry has learned in video production. And this was key to helping retailers learn how to market themselves. Because if you can't market yourselves for the awards, you're probably going to have a tough time marketing your own business. So this was designed to get everybody out of their shell. And it has been successful over the years in doing just that.
Okay, so there's a video involved.
Yeah, so you've got a video. You have somebody seconding the nomination. It could be a rep. It could be another industry person.
I guess my question really is, did you catch that?
No, my question was, there. Sorry about that.
Sorry, no worries. Who are the judges?
Oh yeah, that's super secret in the basement. Now we have judges that judge the top 50s. Okay, that's the first top 50s and the top. I think it's the top 20 for the salespeople. And I would be remiss if I tried to tell you every one of them right now. But it's a group, and it's one of our staff members. Neither Solomon nor I are judges of the awards, and never have been.
Okay.
The only time we'd ever get consulted is if there was a tiebreaker in the end, which has only happened a couple times over the years. But it is a group of people that have won awards in the past that know what to look for, and there is a criteria. The reason we don't reveal the judge, like when we get into the top 12 and the top 12s are judged, we reveal who those judges are at KnowledgeFest during the awards. And the reason we do that is we don't want anybody calling them, going, "Hey,
no influence, last second."
Yeah. Can I send you a bottle of Cristal for a little extra love?
I hear you.
We got to be careful with that.
Okay.
But it's all industry professionals, people that are trusted in our industry, that take the time to review. And then we also have an independent firm audit all the results that's from outside the industry, because it's a whole scoring chart.
Right. So it's a third party that makes
that verifies all the results. So we've got checks and balances, and it's a lot of fun, a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
All right. So the winners, they're announced at KnowledgeFest live. Usually, I'm guessing the last day or the second to last day. We're gonna be able to watch it. It's gonna be streamed. Okay, perfect. How can we support the Canadians that we have in the runnings? I don't know that you need a lot of support. I mean, you guys kind of swept the awards last year.
I mean, I felt like it was a bad hockey game for the Bruins. You know what I mean?
I don't want to dwell on that too much.
Yeah, the only thing tougher than U.S. and Canadian hockey is the awards these days.
Really? Okay.
Last year we had in the top 5 we had Corbin May from Vision Electronics from Alberta. We had in the top 5 technicians Shaughnessy Murley from Visions, who has also been a trusted tech over the years. You get into some of the the real meat and potatoes here. What you find out is there are a lot of really great retailers and installers and salespeople. And and I'll tell you this, and going back just in history, when I traveled Canada years ago, I was always impressed at the caliber of the Canadian retailers and installers. And that's no lie. No harm to my American friends, but there was always something about the way the Canadian shops always seem to be cleaner, precise. And I'm sure there's ones that aren't so, but I was always impressed with the caliber of retailer installer from Canada. So it's great to see them, winning in the awards. And I've looked over the past few years, it's just grown and grown. Tim Baillie, who you have on tonight moderating this, top 12 installers, he started back in 2015 as a top 12 and then, kind of worked his way through it to winning last year. So, you look at, some of the great certified auto sounds out in DC. Let's see who else. Sounds Good Auto from Coquitlam, which I can say.
You say well.
Yeah, so I've spent plenty of time there.
Cumber, absolutely.
Yeah, so the thing is there have always been, and every time my favorite show so far for Canadians has been Long Beach. We started the KnowledgeFest in Long Beach, and I got a call from the guys at JVC Kenwood and said, "Hey, we'd like to bring a few guys down." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I can get some rooms set up and everything." Next thing I know, he's sending over a list with like 80 people. I'm like, "What are you bringing Canada with you?" and he said, "Why?" And I'm like, "Why would Canadians want to go to Long Beach in February?" He said, "Because it's February, Chris."
That's the answer right there. We are miserable humans in February. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, so it was great that we were able to set that. Apparently, Long Beach is easy to get to, as will Orlando is an easy one to get to from Canada. So looking forward to having great Canadian participation at those events.
So just so we're clear, there is no influence that people outside of the judging panel has on the final decision.
Zero.
Okay, fair enough.
People outside the judging panel don't know who the judges are.
Perfect. They don't even know who the other judges are.
Yeah, and each one of the judges in process, and this is good to know, each one of the judges, for the top 12 or the top 50, they judge them all individually, and they put their scores on a sheet. And they don't share their information at all. Mm-hmm. And then all of those are sent to us, and they're reviewed, and then that's where the winners come from. We take the combined scores, and that's where the winners come from. So none of the judges can pick who the winner is. They don't have the ability to.
All right, fair enough. Very good. Two last questions. First, what do you have to say about 2021? What can we expect? Do you have any predictions of where we're going through the environment and the climate that we're in right now?
Oh, well, if we get this election in the U.S. taken care of, we should get rid of COVID. So that's my prediction.
Fair enough. We'll leave it at
that's my political statement. And I don't know. I do care who wins, but I don't think it matters. It's highly politicized in a lot of different places. But neither here nor there for that. I feel like 2021 is going to be a breakout year for mobile electronics. I feel like that this year, a lot of the retailers saw customers they've never seen before. When the bigger, Best Buys and some of these bigger places were shut down, people in the U.S. and I believe in Canada as well were getting additional money from the government to sit at home.
No, make no mistake. Car audio is booming. We're talking to the retailers, and they're like,
"Wow, because people, so busy." While people can't buy an experience, they can buy our technology and get an experience, and I think that's really driving it. So. And they're telling their friends, and we're getting a lot of customers into our store. And our best customers are always the repeat customers. So I feel like as an industry, this year in 2020, while damaging at the beginning, has been a real building year for our customer base as an industry. And I feel like 2021 is going to be a fantastic breakout year for us as an industry, both Canada and the U.S.
I can't tell you how much we share that same thought, that same train of thought. And we're being optimistic, and certainly the signs are headed that way. Last but not least, Chris, what message do you have for our nominees here that are on the panel tonight? What would you like to tell them?
Hey, Canadians seem to have an edge these days, so the Americans are really going to be working hard this year. So I'll tell you that to start with. What I would tell you is view your videos and your productions the way your customer would view it. If you were putting something together to impress somebody, don't put something together that just impresses somebody with cool pictures and video. Put something together that has some substance, that tells us who you are, where you came from, what your passions are. That's really, when it comes down to the end, and we're judging these things, and again, I don't get to judge it, but I get to see the process. What really seems to seal the deal is the passion that comes through, the dedication that comes through, the humbleness that I have seen in so many retailers and installers and salespeople of the year. Most all of them that I have met have just been really humbled by the process. And when they win, it's I don't want to say, it's a surprise every time for me. And I choose not to know who wins until I get to the awards. So I can get the same surprise that everybody else does. So as I'm standing up there and handing the award out, I don't know who won it until it comes up on the screen. And I love that about it because it gives me a similar experience to everybody else in the audience of seeing it for the first time. So I would say, let your passion come through. Be who you are. Don't worry about what somebody else does. Don't worry about how good somebody else puts stuff on the internet or Facebook or how popular they are, how many likes they have, or how big their Instagram account. Focus on you and being the best you could possibly be and impress the industry. And most important, impress your customer. Because if you're doing that, you're going to impress us.
Wow. You heard it right there. Perfect. Hey, Chris, we can't thank you enough for being on the show. Thank you for your words of wisdom. Thank you for shedding light on what's happening with KnowledgeFest. And we wish you the best. We're definitely going to get you back on. That's for sure.
Awesome.
And you know what? Wish your wife a happy birthday.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
All right.
Have a great night.
That was Chris Cook joining us from his home all the way in New England. The man himself. I tell you what, with COVID going on and just the job that organization has done, constantly having to adapt to the changing environment, it's tough. I've been in events a long time, and as you know, events is about what's happening now, and to have to be put in a situation where you're always adapting to a constantly changing environment is very tough. But kudos to them. It looks like things might be lining up that we get some form of KnowledgeFest live here in Dallas. And 2021, like I mentioned, it seems like sales are going well, and hopefully that leads to a very promising and fruitful 2021 for everybody. Okay, we went from the man behind the organization that creates the awards to the man that won the award last year. Canadian Installer of the Year 2019. Let's just get him on. Where is he at? There he is. Mr. Tim Baillie. Welcome to CMA Live.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, man.
I'll tell you what, man, I didn't get an intro like that from Chris. You did. You got a great intro. I didn't even ask him to do that. So that must feel pretty good, man.
Yes, it does.
Listen, let's cut to the chase. We've got some pretty big talent on board with us. Obviously, you included, of course, but we're talking about the nominees tonight. But before we get to them, we want to talk about our current Installer of the Year, yourself. Let's get to know Tim Baillie a little bit. I mean, it's like I'm trying to tell, people who are watching already know who you are, but there's going to be hopefully more people. We've done a big job trying to promote this, to try to get that support from Canada rallying behind these installers. So let's talk about first, for you, going into 2019, what it was like knowing that A, you were nominated, B, that you were in the finals, and C, actually winning.
This is something that I've basically been wanting for a long time. I remember when I first got into the industry, I got into Iasca to kind of help, bolster my career and learn a lot of things, meet people. And I remember going to a shop, and there was an issue of Installation News, and it had the Installer of the Year feature in the magazine, and it was Mark Fukuda from Texas. And I always thought that was the coolest thing. So it was something that I've always wanted to try and go after, but it was never really open to Canadians until I think about 5 years ago. So at that point, I just decided that, this was something that I really wanted to do. I'd done a lot of stuff in my career, and I thought this would kind of be the icing on the cake. So I started looking at previous winners and what they did, and then just started, getting out a piece of paper and making a list, coming up with a game plan of what I wanted to accomplish, and how I wanted to go after it. Same as what I did when I first started competing in Iasca. I set goals for myself, things that I wanted to do, things I wanted to achieve, and then just started, knocking them off the list one at a time. As I got better each year, learning more about, video presentation, video editing, photography, all that aspects that, 10, 15 years ago, you'd never really think would be part of your job as an installer. But like everybody says, we do everything. Everything.
Especially today. I mean, you look at when you started. You mentioned your early years competing. The shop itself had different tools. It was a different mindset altogether. You know what I mean? And something that I read in your bio, you started off as a competitor, right? And then you actually ended up being a judge too, didn't you?
Yeah, I became an IASCA judge because basically, we were doing, the early 90s, we were doing 30, 35 shows every summer. Get a little bored. So I'm like, you know what? I'm sitting in the parking lot anyways. Most of these people are friends or competitors and stuff. So I got into the judging aspect, and that really helped building my own vehicle, learning what other people were doing. Because, in the 90s, everything was a secret. The cars were always locked up at the show. Nobody wanted to show anything because all we had back then was magazines and shows. We didn't have the internet. It didn't exist for many years later. So being able to go in and judge cars, and it also helped with sound quality, learning about how sound works and instruments and stuff really helped my career, being able to be a judge. And then after that, I actually became a trainer. So I would actually train judges at national events and stuff so that, I could give back on the knowledge that I had learned from so many judges and stuff.
Well, I've got a question for you, and that is this. You've been nominated a couple times up until you won. How much do the awards or the potential of winning an award or even being nominated for an award, how much does that play on a daily when you're in the shop and you're working on your next build or your next job? Like, is it something that's always there, or is it something that just kind of comes in and out?
I think for myself, it's always there. Leading up to winning, I'd always look at things, hey, is this something that I can include for my presentation for this year or next year? Making sure that I'm documenting cars, I'm taking photographs, taking video of the car. And just, I've always taken a lot of pride in my work. I'm very detail oriented. I'm very anal about the work that I do. So, being able to be recognized for that, kind of work, means everything to be able to do that. And then after winning it, you want to keep doing the same quality work that you've always done. You don't want to, start slacking ass and, dropping off what you're doing just because you won the award. You want it because of the quality of your work and who you are. So,
100%. Well, on that note, if you don't mind, I'm going to bring up one image here. This right here, man, is that ever clean? Like, talk to us a little bit about what we're looking at here and why this represents you as an installer.
It's a 1960 Pala that we had at SEMA in 2018. We had it down there for Dakota Digital. So, pretty much everything in there is done by hand, done by a hand router. We hadn't had our CNC router up and running yet. So all that aluminum was, hand routered, hand chamfered. Our company owns a chrome shop. So, it was easy to send all the aluminum over to the chrome department and have them polish it all and chrome plate it, stuff like that. But, everything in there is, it's symmetrical. That plays a big part of all of my designs. I want everything to be symmetrical because if it looks off, it's just going to look weird.
Well, I'll tell you. And let's bring this one up here. Talk to us about this build here.
This car was really special to the whole shop. This car was owned by the late Mike LaValle from Killer Paint. Some people probably know who he is. He was a big airbrush artist, was on shows like Overhaul and Ride, stuff like this. And this Merc he'd had for like 10 years, and it was his dream to build this car and put it together and have it at the Kicker booth last year at SEMA. So being able to work with somebody that I've looked up to for a very long time for his artistry, his abilities and stuff was really cool. It's pretty cool to meet one of your heroes. So, being able to take his design cues and stuff that he wanted in the car, and then putting it together and having him come up every weekend from Washington State and just being floored by the work we were doing was really, really cool.
Man, your list of projects reads like an all-star list. Let's just finish with this one here, which is totally different from the other two. Talk to us about this Morel build here.
This car is owned by Doczilla 12, JJ Dubik. So we got this car after he took it to SEMA in 2017, I believe. So we were tasked to basically redo the whole trunk, put an actual audio system in it. Anybody that's worked on these new NSXs knows there's like zero room in these things. So, everything in there, we started to really use our technology in this car. The amp rack underneath the amp itself is modeled after the Liberty Walk body kit that's on the car, with all the pocketed bolt holes. The aluminum plate on the bottom, we Cerakoted that and then put it back on the router table and engraved the Trick Factory and Filthy logos into it. But again, it's all symmetrical. The connections are all symmetrical. The compressors, everything in it is laid out so that it's just, you pop that trunk and it's just, it's like looking inside a jewelry box. It's very appealing.
I love the fact you just mentioned that Liberty Walk wide body kit. I can't see what that's on the car, but now that you mention it, that totally looks like the fender flares and the rivets that go around the fender flares. So really nice attention to detail. A lot of people look up to you, Tim. The guys that are on here, many of them have mentioned you as being one of the people they look up to within the industry. I guess my next question to you is, what are the trends right now? I think that's what people want to know. What are the trends right now that are affecting your work that you see coming in, and maybe speak to a little bit about what's hot right now, where you see it maybe going, a little forecast. OEM integration is bigger than it's ever been. It's going to keep growing. It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. The cars are getting harder to work on. And, the companies are making it a lot easier to be able to integrate, the software, the DSPs, amplifiers that have all this built in, Bluetooth technology, all that stuff. And it's just going to get, smaller, cheaper, better. And then on the installation side, you've got all this technology that's, fairly new to a lot of shops, but it's becoming way more affordable as well. So stuff like CNC routers, lasers, 3D printers. We just got a 3D resin printer. This thing is like something right out of Star Trek. It basically pulls the piece that you're making out of the liquid resin and hardens it with UV light at the same time. And it's something that's affordable for most shops. It's like $600 Canadian, which is like $150 American. So, technology, a lot of shops are starting to really utilize stuff like lasers and all that, and it really starts to put all the shops on a level playing field, I think, because technology is a lot cheaper now. So, we can all start building some really cool stuff that we couldn't 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Now, you're mentioning about cool technology when it comes to tools, right? Tools that are available at a lower cost. But what about the training? Like, how is that going to affect? I guess my concern, and here's what I want to ask you as someone who's been there for a long time. If I'm a young installer and I'm trying to get into it, or I'm inspired by somebody, or I really want to take my game to the next level, it seems like what you're mentioning, it's a much wider skill set than you need now than maybe that you needed 20 years ago. Would you agree with that? Or is that a challenge that you guys have?
Yeah, for sure. We have to do everything. I'm lucky to work in a shop that has a full body shop. We have a full metal fabrication shop, but most shops out there, like 95% of them, we got to do this stuff all on our own. I did up until I started working for Trick Factory. You got to be an upholsterer, you got to be a painter, you got to be a body man. You got to be able to take videos, take pictures, stuff like that, and then put it all together. And even woodworking. There's stuff that the old school woodworkers have been doing for 20, 30 years that we're just starting to do in the last 10 years and stuff. And these guys have been doing it forever. There's stuff that my grandpa was doing that he'd show me when I was, in my teens that, as an industry, we only started doing like 10, 15 years ago. So, and that goes back to training. We all need to learn and take the time to learn. Like if you want to become a better installer, get out there, ask questions. When I started, it was magazines, it was sound offs, and going to visit my local car audio shop. And they'd say, you've been here too much this week, get out of here, stop wasting our time and stuff. But you got to get out there and just learn this stuff. Take the time. It's an investment in your future. It's an investment in your career. And, same as I said before, come up with a game plan, figure out what you want to learn. For me this year, for the last 2 years, has been learning CAD software, Fusion 360. I spend every night, an hour at least every night watching YouTube videos and learning the software. The next task that I want to start, working on is doing a lot more carbon fiber. We do some at the shop, but we don't do enough. We want to start getting into pre-preg and all that kind of stuff. So, basically make a list of what you want to learn and start asking questions, because all this knowledge that everybody has is just borrowed. We all learned it from somebody else, and it's our job and it's our responsibility. I firmly believe it's our responsibility to pass it on to whoever wants to learn. I mean, you can't force somebody to learn, but anybody that wants to learn, I'll help with whatever I can. And I know a lot of people are the same way.
Oh, you heard it here first and from the horse's mouth. I mean, like I said before, you do inspire a lot of other installers out there, and I mean, your willingness to teach is I think what your legacy will be, Tim, no doubt about it. I'd like to end with this before I bring in some of the guys. Music is obviously what brings us together, what brings us into this industry. I think we can all agree with that. I want you to close your eyes and go back to that first dream system that you built for yourself. Describe it to me in detail. What was that system?
My Toyota truck, one that I competed with for pretty much my whole Iasca career. My first big system in it was 4 kicker 15s, 4 kicker 8s, 2 4-inch speakers in the dash, and 2 tweeters and about 3,000 watts of precision power. I went to my first sound off. I actually won.
Nice.
The bass was like crazy. And I listened to a couple cars, and I'm just like, holy cow, I got way too much stuff in this thing. So I went back home. I took 2 15s out, 2 8s out, added some more speakers up front, center channel.
What was your goal for that system? Was it an SPL car, SQ? What were you doing?
Well, the first show, I didn't really, I'd gone to sound offs, and I knew that's what I wanted to do, but I never partaked in the judging process. Right. So I had no idea what it was all about. I had no idea that, bass wasn't supposed to snap your head on, sound quality music and stuff like that. So,
absolutely. Brings me back to you. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. And, well, listen, we're about to bring on some of the guys. Before I let you go, or we're going to put you in the background because hopefully you can stick around, and I'm sure that some of the guys have some questions for you. But what message right now do you have for these next 5 fine gentlemen?
Do the best you can do. You're, the guys are going to make the top 12. That video is hard. That video takes weeks and weeks to put together. I think pretty much every top 12 video that I've ever seen is at least an hour long. That's a lot of work. And go back to your list, start making lists, and just come up with a game plan and make it about you. Let's face it. I mean, I firmly believe the top 12 and most of the top 50, there's not a whole lot separating these guys. So you need to find the advantage, and sometimes that's your personal story. For me, last year, that was a big part of my video. It was my personal story, going from 450 pounds to 204 over 2 years. I made that part of my story because that's one thing that set me apart, and you got to talk about it. Find the personal aspect of your story of what you're doing, why you want to be a top 12, why you want to be an installer of the year, and just capitalize on that personal story.
Man, I'll tell you what, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Tim, thank you for your time. We're going to put you in the back studio and definitely bring you back. But, wow, got to get to know you a little bit. But for now, thank you, Tim. I'm going to put you in the back right here. So you heard it from Chris Cook. You heard it from Tim Baillie. Now it's time to bring on the 5 guys that we've got in the runnings. All of them, of course, Canadian, all from different shops, all from different regions, really. The first person I'm going to bring up is Mr. Roop Gossel. Roop, are you ready to come on, buddy? Yeah. No, he says no. Yeah. Well, guess what? You're coming on. There you are. What's going on, Roop? Hold on. Your microphone is off. Let's unmute you there. Let's see. You got to connect your microphone. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, there you go. Welcome to CMA Live, Mr. Roop, representing Inc. Rides. So, you are the first guy going on. I hope you don't mind. But we've got a lot of guys to get through, and we want to get to know each and every one of you. You're located out in Surrey, West Coast, British Columbia. Yes. Representing Inc. Rides, the shop. Now, just to be clear, you are also the owner of Inc. Rides?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long have you been in business, sir? Yeah, it was just cost a bit, but I think
going on 13 years.
13 years, amazing. And how many times have you been nominated for the top 50 now?
This is 4th year.
Our 4th year. And how do you feel about this year?
Every year is amazing. really amps up my work every year. Just every year hitting it and seeing what everybody else is doing out there. Every year is a new challenge, and I feel like we're getting a lot more people involved every year. So it's
I mean, as a nominee and being in the game, you are obviously check out everybody, other people's videos and stuff. And you heard Chris talk about it, and Tim talk about it. You got to be yourself, and you got to put time, right? You got to put effort into it. I guess my question, my question to you is, what is your mindset going in? So you didn't win last year. Here we go, brand new year. Are you hitting it like ground running from the moment you start your next build and start thinking about how you're going to build that, that portfolio for the end of the year? Like, what's going on in your head?
100%. All year is it's capturing the work. It's while you're in the job, getting the pictures, documenting everything you're doing, which is what I feel like I've slacked in the last couple years. Is my social media, posting all the work we do. Like I probably post about 10% of actually what we got going on at the shop at all the time. So it's really amping that up and posting, getting everybody out there to vote. And this is new to Canada, only last 5 years, where it's been going on in the US for a long time. So it's just really showing that and reaching out to everybody to get those votes.
No, absolutely. So I'm just pulling up an image here because I want the people at home to see the quality of the work that each one of you guys are doing. And you guys had the chance to send up some. One of these really caught my attention, and I want people to get a sense of what your specialty is and kind of like what your wheelhouse is, what the signature, root ink rise thing. So let's start with this image here. Talk to us about what I'm looking at here.
This was a O2 Cobra sent to us by another shop. Customer pretty much let me do what I want. He's like, you know what? I don't need my rear seat. This is the equipment I'm thinking of going with. You do what you do. So we had this job for about 6 weeks. The trunk, he's got a bunch of other stuff going on for his engine. So it was
the nitrous bottle. Obviously, a big nitrous bottle down the middle.
As people say, it's not wired in yet. Yes, I know that. It's still gone back to the mechanic shop, and they're still actually working on the car. The car's gone from crazy to insane real fast. It's a ported box with two W710s, and all painted inside the body color of the car with obviously RGB lighting, so all your lights. You got plexi cut on the edging, all wrapped in leather and Alcantara. There's actually 4 amps in there. There's 2 more amps mounted underneath those. Everything is rang active. And then for the head unit, it was a Kenwood doubled in. And we had full cal mids and tweets all around.
So full cal up front, Kenwood at the head unit, at the source unit, and JL pretty much handling the power and the drivers.
And the power
and the subwoofers.
That's a laser cut Cobra in the middle with an LED in the eye.
I was just going to ask you that. Okay, yeah. So that's all. I mean, that was you. That wasn't already there.
No, that was me. We actually have our own laser in house. So that's actually Alcantara glued onto 1/2-inch acrylic and then engraved through the Alcantara, so you have the light shine through it.
Very good, getting the lighting effect. Okay, let's move on to this other piece here. Talk to us about this piece.
This, I gotta say, is probably one of my favorite builds. And it's so that carbon was all laid in house. The carbon goes through the whole car onto the doors. Full cal system apart from full cal mids and tweets with an audio mobile 10-inch sub and Moscone powering everything. It was a sealed box. The vents are there for show along with the lighting. It was a fiberglass box and then had the shape on the side molded by expanding foam and sanded down and wrapped in leather.
Very, very nice. It's super clean, and the carbon fiber obviously makes it elevate to that next level. But the work with the lighting there, for me, even matches the stitching. You know what I mean? The same amber kind of looks. I'm sure that was purposeful.
Oh, yeah, there's orange stitching right through the car. Sadly, the car was written off, and if you look behind me up above, it's sitting in my showroom now.
What? Hold on. Let's turn that. Wait a minute. What are you talking about?
So it's actually right back up there.
That piece right there. Okay, I see it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. What kind of car was it? It's hard to tell from that picture.
It was a 2016 Aventador.
Aventador, of course, because we all get to work on Aventadors on the daily. But speaking of high end, you provided an image that I really want some description on. I'm going to let you go. I have a feeling this is what you're trying to portray, but talk to us about this.
Oh, we're also doing floor mats now. So that's a set of floor mats we just did for Brabus at 65 Coupe to mastering.
You mean you fabricate these from scratch, custom?
Yeah, we do all our floor mats in-house. It's got the nib backing, so you don't need the hooks to hook into the floor. It grabs onto the carpet. Real leather or vinyl, whichever way the client wants to go, with whatever you want engraved on there or embroidered.
Wow. I've never seen it. That is
this set, actually, the customer won't even put in his car because he doesn't want to step on them.
So what is he using for?
They're sitting on a shelf in his garage.
Of course they are. That's where they are. Of course they are. Why would they be there? All right.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you've got a real cool signature style. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about, you know, what your shop's about? Like, what do you specialize in? The kind of brands you carry? What is it? What does a customer from coming?
Our main brands are Focal and Mosconi. Not only I've just been using them forever, I think they're amazing. The sound and anything you have to do with them, you give them a call. They've got an answer for you. Focal flew me out to France in 2014 for an all-paid trip. Check out their factory, do a training, the wine tours.
No, wait, hold on. Did I read that you're actually born in Europe?
I'm born in Scotland.
You're born in Scotland.
Yeah.
Now you flew back to France. All right, that works. Absolutely.
And I lived in Australia for a year, so I've been all around.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. That's amazing.
Yeah, so really, from where I started, for all the shops I worked for before, won't name any names, but some places I was let go because they didn't want me soldering. They wanted me using crimps. I'm like, you know what? This is not the way I was taught. I was taught to do it the right way the first time. So went through my shops, got my training, and as soon as I had the chance, I pretty much opened my own shop. It all started with someone calling me in to help do wiring for their shop. So they asked me, hey, you want to come along, do it in your after hours while I was working somewhere else? And do you know an upholstery guy? So I grabbed my upholstery guy that was helping me at the time, and we started helping the shop out. By the time I ended up going through something at work, so I quit there. And I'm like, okay, you know what, guys? I'll come in full time with you guys. Let's do this, see how it works out. These guys moved everything into their shop, this 1,200 square foot space, and split. Like, disappeared, couldn't get a hold of them, and don't know where they went. So the landlord contacted me, like, hey, man, you introduced me to these guys. Where'd they go? I'm like, honestly, I don't know. He said, well, we'll give them a week. Let me know if you get a hold of them. Nothing. So he arranged calling a bailiff, got everything removed, and me and my upholstery guy looked at each other and said, okay, what are we going to do? And we opened in cards. And that was 12 years ago. So from there, it's frozen on my screen here. I don't know if this is all. You there, Ben?
Sorry about that, Roop. I got disconnected there for a second. You still there?
Okay, yeah, it just froze. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, sorry about that. You were just telling your story. So the guys took off on you, and you're like, you're stuck.
Yeah, guys took off, called the bailiff, and me and my upholstery buddy back then looked at each other and said, what are we going to do? And we decided to open the shop. So that's when Ink Ride started there.
All right.
I'd already quit my job at that point, so pretty much went full in. I literally had $1,000 in my bank account. We didn't have much more than that. So every job for the first year was just invested right back into the shop. We grew out of that shop within about 2 years. And then audio video that I used to work for was getting out of the audio business for cars. So they offered me their install bay to take over whatever workload they had in the past, and they'd send me whatever came through their door. So we took over their install bay at 2,000 square feet. That lasted about a year and a half, 2 years. And when we grew out of that, we were about to take over the bay next door and double it up.
Wow.
And then we were approached by another wheel shop that was he was buying the business off his partner and didn't need all the space. This was a 7,000 square foot shop.
Much bigger.
So we moved into there, took over that. It was half wheels, upholstery upstairs, audio downstairs. Let's just say that lasted, we were there probably about 4 years.
Okay.
It wasn't what I wanted. I was more after doing the exotic cars. What was going on at that shop wasn't the feel my clients wanted to drop their cars off at. So as soon as I was able, I left. Me and my ex-partner, the upholstery guy, we split. So now this is my first time. I had to go into a shop, have all that on myself. Full rent, all cost was on me, which was 4 times whatever I was paying before.
Sure.
There was always a shop I loved. I always drove by it. The location was good. And something happened with the past owner and it went up for rent. Literally as I was driving by one day.
Okay.
Going through my head, I didn't know what to do. Called the landlord, took it, renovated it, and that's where I am now. And that's been the last 5-6 years now.
Well, here's my question for you. Who do you want to thank to be at where you are right now? Quick shout outs.
That's a long list. So where I started originally was at a buddy used to have a shop back in the day. I used to hang out there. John Barber, now passed away. He did my work for me. I helped him out. I wanted to get into it. I'm like, hey, what do I do? He introduced me to a fellow named Warren Stevens, which had a school running in Canada back then.
Okay.
Introduced me there. Met him. Still really good friends with him today. He probably taught about 15 people. He had 3 classes of 5 people go through his school before it shut down. And I think I was the only one that actually did anything with it. So big thanks to both those gentlemen there. And then working with Dusty over at Visions, I learned a lot from working there. Luke Bianco over at Audio Video. And then, you know what, all the guys on Instagram that actually go out and share their work. And I've never had an issue with reaching out to someone. And it's amazing how some people, they want to help. Mm-hmm. You'll have someone you've never met. You're on Instagram. You know who each other are. You ask a question. Hey, I'm having a problem with this. You having this? And they're there to help. So for all you guys out there, thank you.
All right. Well, I'm going to put you in the studio. Thank you so much. We're going to bring you back because we're going to have a little Q&A at the end. But there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is Mr. Roop Gossel from Inc. Rides. All right. Who do we have up next? You know, I'm going to bring up representing Brian Raymer Audio, Mr. Colin McAndrew. Coming. Yes, Colin, that's you. You're coming up next. Here we go.
All right.
That's you, buddy. Welcome to the show, Colin. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
Oh man, I love the way this evening is going. We're getting to know everything that has to do with the installer world. I'm not an installer myself. I started my first business in my garage. It was called RMS, Radical Mobile Sounds. I want to be an installer. That was my goal. I sucked at it, so I ended up doing car starters and made $1 in the winter, and I kind of went on to other stuff. But just so you know, congratulations to everybody who's on this panel. You guys made it. I didn't, but that's great. So let's get into the world of Colin McAndrew. Colin, why don't you talk to us? Where you're from? What store? I already talked about what store, but where you at? Where you at?
Well, we're Brian Raymer Audio. Obviously, we're in Winnipeg, Manitoba. We've been here for pushing 45 years now. Brian started the business when he was like 18. He took some electrical engineering courses in university. He was playing with electronics, and he said, I can do this. And he got some people working with him. And he got product, he got a place to work. He originally started in his parents' basement, and one thing led to another. He bought up a little building, worked out of that for a few years, and then he ended up buying the 4 units beside him, and then sold the original one to a lock and safe company. And we've been in that same complex for about, I'm not actually sure how long, but longer than I've been alive. So,
how long have you been there?
I've only been at Brian's for 7 or maybe 8 years now.
Fair enough. And first thing I want to say, when I'm reading profiles, unlike most of the other guys, you never competed, nor did you ever judge at any DB Drag or Ask event. I find that very curious. So, but were you like a car audio buff? Like, what was the deal?
Honestly, I got really big into it in high school. It started out when I was, brother got a system, and I said, "Oh, that's really cool. I want that for me." And I was like, I got to do better. You can't just be the same as your brother. You got to one up them. So one stereo turned into another, and then it turned out I was pretty good at building them.
This started over sibling rivalry.
Oh, pretty much, yeah.
Fair enough.
So I got really good at it, and I started building enclosures. I started building stereos with friends in the garage, and one day I found myself in Brian's store, and I noticed there was no one sitting behind the counter, and my girlfriend, she interrupted the salesman at the time and said, "Are you hiring?" And I kind of went, "Oh, you don't just ask that. Like, this is a highly rated establishment. You have to apply." And the salesman kind of chuckled and said, "Yeah, actually, we do need a guy." And I started the next day.
Well, okay. Very West. So, started over a sibling rivalry. No previous, experience, or I guess delving into the car stereo sound off world or the judging of that nature. But obviously, you were passionate about it, right? You wanted a good car stereo, and you dove right into it. Did you take any formal training, or was there anybody that mentored you, or anybody you want to, that you looked up to from an installer standpoint when you were getting in?
At the start of things, honestly, not really. There was the YouTube guys that, that was always, as it is today, people still look up to YouTube for the professionals as they were back then. There's still lots and lots of fantastic information on YouTube. You mean look at like market car audio fabrication. There's good usable information there. So I learned a lot just doing it on my own as I went. And then a few years working for Brian, I found myself going to the B&B expos in Alberta every year. Learning lots of good information at those seminars. It was fantastic meeting new guys, meeting new dealers, and progressing.
Absolutely. So over time, you owned your skills. Now let's talk about some of this work that you've been on. You've had the opportunity, like everybody else, to send us. So I'm going to start with this guy right here. Talk to us a little bit of what we're looking at here.
I can't see the image actually. I think my screen is frozen here.
Oh, is it? All right. Hold on. Let's give it a second. The image I'm looking at is a Pioneer-based system on blue vehicle, 3 subwoofers.
Yes, that would be the 2016 WRX we did. That would be about almost 3 years ago now. We wrapped that one up. It was a combination of pair of Pioneer amplifiers, driving Focal mids and tweets in the front and rear, the 3 Focal flax subs, and the Pioneer head unit, I believe it was.
Yeah, cool. And what type of I guess tools or techniques were used in this one that you want to highlight?
So when that one was built, everything was done by hand. I had a router, I had a jigsaw, standard woodworking tools, and my imagination at hand. So I worked with everything I had. I was cutting acrylic again, starting with the jigsaw, and then I was taking it over to the router, cleaning everything up, and that was one of the builds where I really got into heavier fabrication actually, and I learned quite a lot doing that installation. It was a really fun one.
Let's contrast that to the next one, which is it says Hades, and I see some Hertz amps and maybe a Sony item.
Yes.
What is that all about?
Yeah, so that's actually the factory Sony amplifier. It had to stay in the trunk because we used a pack integration module on that one to integrate with the factory Sony system. That was a 16 Focus RS. So really nice integration piece. The pack module gives out full, your front rear sub, full 4 range, full frequency. Sound is easy to improve from that point. So I liked the look of the amp, and I thought might as well display it. There's only so much area to work with. What do I have to show? And so we ended up taking the stock Bluetooth module, which is the piece on the left, and the Sony amp, and I just integrated them right into the amp rack there. I had to rewire them because nothing reached, and the wiring was an absolute just massacre on there. So we cleaned it all up and made it look like something and included it in the installation.
Very clean. The use of what's already there and kind of worked with it and around it. Okay. And the last piece I want to showcase is very colorful. Really colorful. Looks like it's I'm going to guess a Cadillac lowrider of some kind.
It is. Yeah, it is. I don't remember the year, but it was an 80s Fleetwood. And the guy had a Mexican blanket, and he had an air ride tank that was custom airbrushed by a local artist. And I thought it was just fantastic. He was the nicest guy, and he said, I just want to build something unique. And I said, oh, we can do unique.
I wasn't sure what I was looking. So that's a blanket that you've incorporated into?
That is a straight up Mexican blanket cut up into pieces and upholstered onto the panels.
Really nice. And what are the components of this system?
This one, actually, I don't even know what was up front. He had a Pioneer radio. The speakers, as far as I know, were actually stock. The only thing he cared about was the back end of it. He was doing the car in stages. He started with the air ride, did the wheels, and then he brought it to me and said, I want it to look like it's not just another, air rider with a tank slapped in the trunk.
Absolutely.
So
and
cleaned it all up.
Sometimes those are the trunks that are hardest to work with, right? Because you got to deal with the whole air suspension and all that stuff too, right? It's not just a.
I had to work around what was already there because the air ride installation was kind of done old school. So there were basically just valves and tubing all over the floor of the trunk, and they said, "Yeah, just build over that." And I kind of looked at him and said, "I'll do what I can. We'll see what happens." And what we ended up doing was basically building that shelf.
Right.
And underneath it, it's not super pretty, but everything around it, the amplifier wiring, I was able to redo all that, build a nice amp rack in behind the air tank there, and basically that whole front panel pops out. It's just held in place with magnets, and you can get access to the air ride and all the wiring that's back there for serviceability.
All right, Colin, I got 2 more questions for you. Over the years,
sure,
you've played with a lot of toys and a lot of product. Do you have any products that are kind of like that tickle your fancy a little bit more, or that you have more confidence in?
I've always been a huge fan of the Focal speaker line. I'd say from bottom to top, but it's mostly just from mid to top for all the lower stuff. I got a sweet spot for a brand called Powerbase, and we picked them up from B&B a few years ago as a budget line to trying to fill in that low end gap where we were not really liking the Pioneer G series speakers. They're just awful. And they turned out to be a really good product. So we started bringing in more of the line, and we brought in some of their marine stuff. We brought in some of their power amps, and it's been a good line for us. It's good quality stuff. It sounds good and it works.
All right. And last but not least, you're obviously amongst your peers, obviously very great installers as well. What do you think makes your work stand out a little bit from everybody else as far as your signature? What type of work, or how would you describe it? I know it's a tough one.
That's a really good question. I'm up against a lot of really, really skilled installers. I mean, most of the guys that are in here are the guys that I mentioned in my video and when they asked me who inspires me.
That's right.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, it would just have to come down to that attention to detail and that precision that I like to put into every install. Like, everything has to be perfect. Even, just this last week, I was working with a friend on his Genesis, and I said, let's do a really nice, molded enclosure. Let's fab it into the side of the trunk, not take up any extra space. And that was a great idea, but at the time I only had a few days to throw something together, and he was going on a trip because everyone likes to get their stereo the day before they head off on a trip. Yeah. So let's just throw a quick box together. And I'm sitting there finessing everything, and he's going, dude, it's fine, like, just let's wrap it and get it in the trunk. And I said, no, it has to be perfect. I don't care if it's temporary.
So attention to detail, that's what's going to be written under your name. Attention to detail.
Probably. Do it right, do it once.
All right, Colin. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll get back to you in just a few moments. All right, so we've heard from 2 of our 5. We're going to go cross over to another 2 provinces from there and head over to Red Deer, Alberta, representing Vibe Car Audio, our good installer friend, Mr. Christopher Labonte. What's going on, Mr. Chris?
Not too bad. Just figured we'd give it a shot and see if my phone's going to last through our little talk here.
Oh, well, we'll make it quick and we'll do it efficiently. I do like your background. What are you sitting in?
2020 Acura TLX I'm working on.
Oh, I seen that on the Facebook. Is that the same vehicle that you guys have been working on?
Yeah,
awesome.
This is the one, yeah.
Hey, just real quick for those watching, if you want to get your feature installs on CMA, check out our install bay. All you got to do is contact us, let us know. We love sharing all the builds all across Canada. If you're a Canadian dealer installer, we'll feature you install bay. That's how we learned about Vibe, and we'll get to know a little bit more about Christopher's. Chris, let's see. Red Deer, Alberta, Vibe Car Audio, 26 years experience in the field. Where do I want to begin? I'll tell you what. Why don't you start telling me about this competition, Top 50, what it means to you, and how long has that been something that you've been striving for?
Well, being in the industry for so long, but I never really knew about what the industry awards was. Mm-hmm. And it was only 3 years ago when I sort of listened and watched some videos, and I was like, maybe I'll try out. And I was like, no, I won't try out. But then 2 other industry friends at the time they're like, give it a shot. And I decided to go for it. And yeah, I've been trying for the past 3 years, and each 3 years I made the top 50.
Wow, awesome. So 3 years in a row you've been in the top 50. Here you are again, amongst obviously some of the best talent we have. What I want to know is, what is the signature Christopher Labonte install? Like, what are you known for? What do you want to be known for? What is your specialty? And do I have any images that I can maybe bring up to talk about?
I like to do things different, I guess. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to have like that angry owl looking sub enclosure. I like to be a little bit outside the box, I guess.
I'm going to show something here. I want you to talk me through why it is you submitted me this picture, because I think it's something that is pretty special here. I'm going to bring it up. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Talk us through. What are we looking at here?
That is, man, what year? It was like a 2015 Mercedes, the SUV. And at the time, there was no dash kit made for those vehicles. And really, that was pretty much before this whole factory integrations, like OEM integration stuff became really popular. So with this, I took the factory Mercedes radio and I used that and just cut it up and molded in my Kenwood trim and made that an actual dash kit.
So, oh, I see. So basically you hacked the original one and made it look brand new. I'm sorry.
There's no hacking.
You
finessed it.
Finessed the original trim. And if I have a final product, is that the one right there?
That's the one right there, yeah.
Man, that looks like one of the kits that are available to purchase out of a box right now.
Yeah, and that actually mounts the exact same way as the factory Mercedes radio. Underneath at the bottom, there'd be two little pins that drop down to release the radio to slide forward. So even Mercedes, if they went not realizing that was an aftermarket radio, they would go service whatever's behind it the exact same way as if that was a Mercedes installed radio.
Oh, very nice. A lot of thought has been put into that as well. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and get from the front of the car to the back of the car. What are we looking at here?
That is a 1996 Lexus LS 400. That was the first 40th kit sold on this side of the world. There was a second one installed on this side of the world. Canada got this kit before the US, and I just finished this car up of Dallas K-Fest last year, and that's when they released that to the US, was in Dallas last year. So I had the kit done at the end of that show.
Yeah, I just got another shot of the reverse angle of the amp racks.
Yeah. So the way the amps are, it's a VIP style car that the builder, the owner of the car likes that Asian flair, like how they're doing it, like on the other side of the world.
Yep, VIP style.
In there, in the front of the car, he has like that drink holder thing that's all custom made and everything. So that's why I did the amps to sort of mimic the drink holders, like the trays.
Yes, because usually there's champagne served in the back seats of these cars.
That's correct. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Cool. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about installers and fabricators that have inspired your work over the years. Who's kind of been there, when you needed some inspiration, or people you look up to?
In the beginning, it was really easy. When I got into the industry, I was working for Advanced Electronics, and at that time, there's about 10 to 12 installers like working around me. So I was always, if I had a question, I'd ask someone and they'd like give me the answer, of course, because I'm their coworker. And they're I think there's 4 of them that competed in IASCA and USAC at the time. So they knew like how to do things like 100% proper. So that's what taught me that you can take your car to the dealership or another shop, and if they see something that's looking bad, then it's going to reflect back on you. So you have to make sure you make your install looking as clean as possible, like it came that way from factory. So it has to be all those guys, like I can name names for like hours if we wanted to, but it's mainly those guys because there was no social media back then. Like Tim mentioned earlier, it was just magazines and car shows. That's the only way we knew, and we wouldn't be sharing our tricks with other stores.
Right, it was so secretive, right? It was so secretive back then.
Yeah, it was. Now it's so open and free, and we share people like Australia. We got friends in Australia that we share techniques with and stuff too, so it's super cool.
Not only, do you know how similar, you and Roop read on a piece of paper. Did you know that Roop and you are both born in Scotland?
I wasn't born in Scotland.
Do I have? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, you know why? Yeah. I got Roop's profile up. My bad. My bad.
Yeah.
I was like, no way. How could that be?
What's up?
What's going on? Why are both of them born in Scotland? No, I'm sorry. I'll build that up. I had his still open. My bad, Roop. All right. So here we go. So over the years, 26 years you've been in the. What are the brands for you that inspire confidence and creativity as an installer?
At the start, it was just Rockford, find like DD drive in my car, V12 Expert amps, like the really good Alpine stuff at the time. And then Rockford was there. It was really, really good. But now in Canada, it seemed that Rockford sort of went away from being one of the top dogs. So now it's moved into being JL Audio and Full Cal Audio. And those are my two favorites of the whole thing. Kenwood for head units, 100%.
Very nice, very nice. This is their third year in a row being in the top?
This is my third year, yes.
All right. Did you do anything different this year for your video that you've learned from the two previous years?
I think they're all different. My first one, I made like a really cool intro. So this one is just sort of nice, streamlined, to the point. I never rehearsed anything. I just had the questions in front of me and just went boom, boom, boom. I just wanted to keep it as real as possible. So awesome. I didn't want to have like 800 takes and then edit them all together. So everything I just sort of flowed in together. Oh, I got a different app that helped me stream my pictures all into a video form. So that made it easier for me to paste it into my final video editing.
Okay, well, you gave some good advice right there. And before I let you go, what advice do you have for maybe some of the younger installers watching us right now, for somebody who's been in the industry for quite some time?
Well, some of these younger guys are inspirations to me. So, like, these guys are, like, they're moving up so fast. The ones that, like, are in the industry, like Colin, he's a few years, like, being, like, a professional installer, even though he's been, like, doing it for years prior. He's doing really, really amazing work right now. And I like hearing from him, like, from time to time. There's like many of the U.S. young up and comers as well that I look up to, because seeing them do good work motivates me to. I need to keep my game up a little bit, because these guys are coming up quick. Like, we're old guys, like Tim, Marty, myself. We're pretty old now, and all these young guys are like, they're creeping up on us and they're teaching us at the same time.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Chris, we'll bring you back in a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Christopher Labonte representing out of a Vibe Car Audio. Okay, we got two more to go, and these two are no slouches, that's for sure. Let's bring up Mr. Jason Van Lakerveld. Jason, welcome to CMA Live.
Hey, Brian. How's it going, Ben? Thanks for having me on.
How's Richmond, BC treating you?
It is absolutely beautiful today. No smoke here, which we had a big problem with yesterday. Some fires blowing in some smoke from across the border, but today it is warm and sunny.
All right, buddy. So we're here to talk about you. We're here to talk about your achievements and put a spotlight a little bit so that the folks at home can learn a little bit about you as an installer. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you came up from, who your influences are, how you got to where you are, real quick.
All right, super. Well, I started out in the industry about 23 years ago. Got into car audio. I mean, I'll start off with school. I wasn't into cars. I wasn't into school or into stereos, nothing when I was in school. The whole career really started out when I got my first car, and I'm old as dirt, so minimum wage was $4.25 back in the day when I first got my first job. I got my first, saved up my pennies, got my first car stereo, had it installed, and the guy came out to me with a $500 bill, and I looked at him and went, I don't know where I'm going to get that money. So since then, I started reading magazines and started working on cars, figuring it out, letting the smoke out of wires all the time in my carport. Figured it out, started getting into competitions, did some IASCA back in the day, Phoenix Gold Slam Jam, and then we did the DB Drags. And
bringing me back, brother.
Phoenix Slam Jam, man. I was 151 to whatever it was, 10th loudest in Canada in 1997. So, we did that for a little bit, and I started doing quite well. People came into my driveway, and we started making stereos, and that's kind of where it all grew from there. picked up every single car audio mag I could, read from it, learned. That's how I figured out fiberglassing was three different issues that we had to wait for the next issue to figure out what we did next. Yeah, that was kind of where it was there.
No, I was just saying, like, you do everything. You do custom fabrication, you do integration, you do interior fabrication, you do full, top to bottom vehicle wiring. Where's your shop exactly? You are located in Richmond?
We are in Richmond, so we're about 5 minutes from the airport here in the Vancouver airport. So
okay, and the name of the shop is?
We were for the last almost 20 years BPG Auto Sound, but this year we've undergone a rebranding and we're now the studio.
And that's what I want to make clear. I just want to make sure everybody got that message right. So now you're known as the studio. So Jay from the studio. All right, let's dive into the dirty stuff. I want to talk a little bit about some of your work. Let's talk about this guy right here. What are we looking at?
Okay, this was this was a little bit ago. This was a stereo that we did. It was on somewhat of a budget. We did a full color change and interior in this 80s iRock. So a couple of the Hertz amps, I think it was Energy subwoofers we did in there, and then it was just Energy 6x9s and some components in the front. So everything there is hand fabricated, hand wrapped. That piece on the radius that sort of goes from the hump where the amp rack is down to the enclosure is all curved, and it is held in place with ingenuity. It locks into place, and magnets on the bottom, so there's no fasteners in there. Behind that panel are all the fasteners for the stereo, so unless you take that out, that whole stereo is not coming out.
Okay, cool. Nice and simple, nice and clean. And let's shift gears to something a little bit more intense. How about something like that right there? What are we looking at here?
All right. So this was the bonnet on a 2018 McLaren 720S. So we're using the focal amplifiers mounted to an acrylic, a half-inch acrylic piece that is side lit with LED. We went a little bit old school, something that we used to do, and we drilled all the holes for the RCAs and power wires just so that we get a little bit of illumination there. And then we've got the Moscone processor that's going underneath. So
on it, McLaren.
That is a McLaren, yes, 2018 720S. So that one was quite a build. It's one of the first cars that had in Canada that had the Focal Utopia M 3-way setup in it, and it's got the single Utopia M 10-inch woofer in there as well.
Okay, very, very nice. And last but not least, let's take a look at this guy right here.
All right, so this is a BMW M3. This is what we consider one of our more simple builds as far as trunks go. So just a nice simple panel with a couple of inserts. The enclosure itself is wrapped in a 3D carbon fiber wrap that mimics the roof and the carbon fiber pieces that are in that vehicle. The vinyl that we use matches very closely to the factory leather, and that vehicle also has inserts, which has a square perforation in it, which is what we use to wrap the insert panels around the amp racks.
And what is that? That's Audison I see in there?
That's all Audison Prima. So Prima woofers and 4 Prima amplifiers. So I believe it was 2 4-channel bit amplifiers, so with the DSP processor in it, and then 2 of the Prima woofers, each powered by a single 1-channel or mono Prima amplifier.
All right, thank you for that. And I want to go here. This is an interesting image because it's an unfinished project, but I'm sure there's a reason for this, and I want you to talk about this right there. What are we looking at?
Sure.
There?
I mean, we're super proud to show the work that we do while we're working. We're never scared to show what's going on behind the scenes. So this was a 2006 Rolls-Royce Phantom that we're building. The
other one was a McLaren, and this one is a Rolls-Royce.
Correct. So our specialty really is the luxury, high-end, and exotic vehicles. That's pretty much what we have through our bay most of the time. So this floor mimics the factory panels that were in the floor when the vehicle came in place. It is when it was all finished. It's the floor was highlighted in the red leather. The rest of the panels were done in black leather, and the inserts were done with a press grill and a grill cloth. So there was in the storage compartment on the left side, there's 2 Audison Voce 12-inch woofers, and then the Audison SR amplifier to power all of that. That was the first stage of this vehicle. And the second stage, we actually moved that amplifier over and made room for a secondary amplifier, which powered up all the speakers inside. So this one is actually truly interesting because the electronics are based on a 7 Series BMW, so we were able to actually use a most integration piece to you get an optical out and to get signal for everything in this vehicle. That piece that the amplifier is mounted on, it looks pretty simple, but that's actually a piece of 1/4-inch aluminum that we had to remove from the vehicle, refabricate so that we could mount the amplifiers to it. That hides and protects the gas tank that's right behind that panel. So the rear seats were incredibly difficult to get out of that vehicle, and just to get to this point, the wiring, I think that car was almost 3.5, 4 days worth of work.
Man, I gotta say, there's probably no YouTube video on how to do that one.
No, that one, you know what? I tried. I looked.
You know what I mean?
It took me a couple phone calls to figure out how to get the rear seat out of that thing, but like everybody else says, this industry is full of friends, and you're able to lean on. We're able to lean on each other when it's necessary.
Well, as you can see so far, and the folks tuning in, the quality, the fabrication, and the craftsmanship of the work that we've displayed so far tonight is obviously upper echelon stuff. Jay, what are your go-to products when it comes to putting any equipment of your choice into a customer's car?
You know what? In my own personal vehicles, I use a mix of Focal and Audio-Tech Fisher brands. So I've always been a huge fan of the Focal speakers. They've been something that I feel is a privilege to have in your car, and it's a privilege for me to be able to sell. I know that when somebody comes in to listen to them, they've never heard anything like it before. So I'm always very proud to have those in my car. I've got one of my cars has one of the 40th anniversary kits, like Chris had installed in there. So for me, it's not the best sounding Focal kit there's ever been, but because I've been such a fan for so long, it seemed to have the right place in one of my vehicles.
You're working on high end cars. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of young installers looking at this like, oh my God, when do I get to work from going to a very standard vehicle into a luxury vehicle or a premium vehicle like you do? What advice do you have for those guys? They're starting out and have this passion to get in there and fabricate.
When you're passionate, you just got to go after it and chase it, because I'll be honest, I've been doing this for 20 plus years. I didn't get into the heavy fabrication part until probably about 6 or 7 years ago. So 6 or 7 years ago, I barely had a table saw and a router table in my shop. Now we've got 2 full-fledged fabrication facilities in our building, and we're able to turn out some great work. So, reach out to the people that are out there, friend them, be honest, and just go after what you want, and don't be afraid, because if that's one thing that I was taught is they're only cars. They were put together, they'll come apart. Just have patience, and you'll get there.
Man, great advice. Thank you so much. Jay, awesome work. Love the type of stuff you're doing. I'm going to put you in the back studio so I can bring in our last installer before we round it out for the evening. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
All right. So last but not least, we've got a gentleman coming out of Courtenay, BC, who works at a shop known as Andre's Electronic Experts. He's a character. I kind of saved him for the end because I'm interested to take a look at his work and find out what's going on in the mind and the hand craftsmanship of Mr. Marty Adamczyk. How's it going, Marty?
Pretty good, Ben. How you doing?
I appreciate you waiting all this time. I know it's a long show, but we've got a lot of talent to go through, and I want to make sure everybody gets their spotlight. You know what I mean?
That's okay.
So here we are. You're number 5 of 5 that are in there, representing BC once again. Andre's Electronics. How many times have you now been nominated to be in the top 50?
This is the first time.
This must be pretty exciting.
Very.
Very exciting. Obviously, you know the type of company that you keep.
Yes.
Those are the individuals who are on tonight. We had Tim who was on earlier. Why don't you give us a run through of how Mr. Adamczyk went from being an installer to being a recognized one as you are right now?
I think it's just been social media. I mean, I post everything that I do. I keep detailed pictures. I try and talk to everybody. I'm very active on social media.
So you think social media has played a role in I guess not only promoting yourself, but I'm guessing learning from what the guys are saying. It seems like social media has changed a lot, because like Tim had made reference to back in the day, everything was hidden. Nobody wanted to show the secrets or the little tricks, but now it seems like there's a fraternity or a collective maybe where you can get out there and get the information. Has that helped you get to where you are?
Oh, it definitely has. I mean, when I first started doing this, probably back in 2000, starting to get into custom, I was by myself. I didn't really have anybody to show me or teach me. So I turned to the internet, and I was kind of going through web pages, just typing in, cool car audio installs and all that. And I came across this website. It was called Hurts 'em All. And so I kind of went into there, and the installer in there started putting, pictures of what he was doing, and he was doing his build step by step of what he did and how he did it. And he went into such detail. And I learned so much from that. I mean, that's kind of how I became crafted into being fascinated by custom car audio. And over the years, I've been watching this website, and it's funny because it was Tim's website. So down the road, quite a few years later, through a mutual friend, Tim and I became actually really good friends. So here I am with this guy that I've looked up to for 20 years now. He's actually a fantastic friend of mine, and it's amazing. And it's all through social media and online.
You know what? There's a lot of people who bitch about social media, how it's annoying, it's a waste of time, but there's like with all negatives, there's always positives, and it allows us to talk about stuff like right now. This is social media, right? We're doing a live broadcast.
Oh, definitely.
We're introducing you guys to everybody and getting everybody on board with this Canadian train that's going through, according to Chris, takeover, right? The installer competition. Marty, let's get into it. You've got some content I want to cover with you. Let's start with this guy right here. Talk to us about what we're looking at.
That's a box for a brand new Chevy Silverado, and that's all stacked in fiberglass, edge-lit acrylic. The box is carpeted. It has it's all wrapped in vinyl on top. It's got a little window in the center there for the logo of the vehicle.
Okay, so very basic but clean work. And it uses different materials, uses some nice, routering and some lighting. But then we look at some wiring. What do you want to showcase here?
That's just cleanliness. I'm so focused on attention to detail and how I lay things out, and I label everything. I try to make everything serviceable. Everything's wrapped. Nothing's going to move. There's no way that anybody can wreck anything in there. I label everything that way. If it ever needs to be serviced, people can, it's obvious what it is and where it goes.
Very nice. It's obviously very well thought out ahead of time. There's not just something together, but very serviceable. Like you said, I see there's lots of space to work between each unit, each component. Yep. Let's move on to this right here. That is
in a set of A-pillars on a 2012 Jeep Cherokee. There was nothing there before, and we wanted fantastic imaging, so we went with Hertz Mille Legend components. I fabricated them just basically body filler and worked it all up, wrap it in suede. And the nice thing about that is when I show people, I point them out, they're like, what? Like they don't know that they're not supposed to be there, that they weren't always there.
But isn't that the best part? That's when you know you've done it right.
Yeah.
It is really clean. And speaking of clean, we're just going to jump to this guy here. Another example.
Yeah, that's in that same Chevy that the sub box was in. All those speakers were mounted below the factory grill, and we just weren't getting the clarity that we knew we could. So I took the grill and heavily modified it, put the speakers on top, so there's basically nothing in front of them, and night and day change in the sound.
As far as the sound stage is concerned?
Definitely, yeah, and the clarity.
The clarity as well. Okay. I guess we'll end it as far as your installs go. Let's shift to a trunk now.
Yeah, that's a 1987 Mustang Cobra. There's 4 Focal Flax 10s in there. There's 3-way Flax components up front. Everything's running active. That thing, it hammers. Like we played a bit of music in there, and it actually shook the mirror right off the front windshield.
That's always a sign of a good time.
Yeah.
All right. So obviously you get to touch and feel. I see the couple different components. I've seen a little bit of some Hertz, a little bit of Focal. What is your hardware of choice? Right now, boom, no budget. I want you to build a budget. Put it in there for me that and are confident is going to sound great to your ears.
I would say Focal.
You too, eh? Everybody's in the Focal train.
Yeah, you bet. And of course, Kenwood head units always.
Kenwood head units, Focal. All right. What about power?
Yeah. Power, I think raw power would probably be the Rockford.
Yeah, Rockford Fosgate. Very good choice.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, that was your first time doing a video. What advice do you have for other installers now that you've done it one time?
For doing a video?
Yeah, the video. The whole thing you have to do to be nominated, and
just have fun with it. Don't rush it. Just showcase your work. Learn the software. Learn the editing. Just figure out how everything works, and just have fun.
Did you have fun doing it?
No. No, it was good. It was fun.
All right. Well, that's time. We're almost at that time. We're going to bring in everybody right now. So, guys, I'm going to bring you guys all back in because let's just see if we can't take a few questions here. Here we go. Joe Johnson said, "I saved the best for last, Marty." Just so you know. I'm sure you can see.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and bring Tim back because we want the Godfather with us. Tim. We got Jay coming back in here too. We're going to bring back Mr. Colin, Mr. Christopher, and Mr. Roop. So let me see if I can lay this out properly. Yes, we can. Gentlemen, we've had a fantabulous hour and a half together. I hope you feel that we've given you an opportunity to talk about yourselves, to let the people know what it's all about. I want to open, the forum up. Everybody there's a lot of people on this thread right now. All kinds of people like Tyler Grant McFadder, just a ton of Dave Singh's on here. Everybody's on here. So guys, I'm reaching out to the people who are listening. Here's your chance. Questions. Love to ask them some questions. We got pretty much the board right here. Tim, I'm going to start with you. You've heard their stories now. What do you have to say? What have you heard? Did you like what you heard here? Is this a good representation of what we have for Canadian talent?
Oh, it's definitely a great representation. There's some really talented guys here. I've watched all the videos. The videos are really good, well put together. So I think it's time for Canada to keep kicking ass this year, bring some more trophies home.
Let me ask, while you're on there, what do you think is giving us the edge? You heard Chris say it. What is it that, is there a style? Do we have a style? Is there a thing about us?
I don't think there's a style. I mean, I've seen everybody's installs here. They've all got their own flair, their own way of doing things. And I don't really know. I mean, these guys put out some very clean work. So top stuff.
When it comes to the awards, you've been there. What was your takeaway moment from when you heard that you were the winner? What went through your mind?
Well, I started crying.
Oh, okay.
I was actually in the middle of a Red Lobster down in Seattle with everybody from work, and I completely forgot that the awards were on. And Marty messaged me. He's like, "Are you watching this?" So I jumped on. I had like 2% left on my phone, and then all of a sudden, they like it's install of the year time, and got all quiet, and the screen came on. My name was there, and I just lost it. I'm like, holy shit. Even today, every time I just think of that exact moment, it just, lights me up. It was a pretty amazing moment.
I mean, each of you on here have put countless hours in the shop. You've cut your hands, you've broken things, you've made mistakes, you've had to rip everything out and redo it again. That's the life of an installer. Do you have any questions for Tim? Maybe let me reverse the role. Do you guys, any of you? I mean, we've got Tim here. I want to close the show off on a high amongst Canadian guys. Maybe I can go to Marty. Marty, what would you like to ask Tim?
Question. I talk to Tim every day.
Or any of the other guys. I'm going to kind of keep it open for him.
Yeah. No, just good luck, guys. I mean, this is a fantastic panel. I think we have a good shot this year. What would you do different if you could redo your year, knowing now that what you did was enough to get you nominated? Here, that's a question I want to ask him. I would probably say adjust my time management a little bit better.
Time management. You felt you could have done more in the same amount of time?
Probably, or just change things up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I'm going to direct my next question to Jason. Do you think that it's about being fancy with your work, or is it more about the details and consistency to keep you on the top and above everybody else?
You know, I think everybody has their own style. Some of us are fancy and some of us are about details. But really what keeps you on top is ensuring that you are doing top-notch work from top to bottom. From that first screw that you take out to the last bolt you put in, everything has to be just a certain way. You've got to do the best that you can do with the time that you're, you know, that's in the budget. And that's what we have to do every single time. You know, deliver on time. And it's not just that. It's also about after service, right? Things do go wrong, and how you treat your clients when they do come back with a problem. That's really incredibly important as well. You know, that's the sign of a true champion, somebody who's going to take care of things even when they do make mistakes. And we all do it.
Very good. Thank you, Jason, for that comment. I'm going to go to Colin here. You know, some of these guys have been doing this a little bit longer than you have. So, you know, for guys who are watching this and guys who are installing there every day, they might get inspired by what they're seeing here. They're like, wow, man, I want to be like these guys. But sometimes you work your butt off and it doesn't pay off. You don't get that recognition. What do you have to say to that guy who's, you know, busted his butt, didn't quite get recognized, and he just needs to, what does he need to do next?
That's a really good question. That's kind of what this all is all about, you know. It's really just do your absolute best, and no matter what happens, don't back down, and just keep doing your best. Keep taking those good quality photos of your work and making sure you get it out there that what you're doing is top notch, and do that good work and be proud of it. Make sure you carry yourself in the way that you would want others to see you. Like Chris at the start of the video said, you know, look at your video the way a customer might look and try to see how they would see you. And the better you see yourself, then the better you're doing, I think.
Very well. Very well. Thank you for that. And Christopher, I'm going to revert. This goes to the other side of the spectrum. You have been in the game for a while. So what keeps you motivated to stay on top of your game? Like, what wakes you up in the morning and says, yeah, I'm going to kill this install today?
It's in my blood. I swear I must have been born in a car, or at least conceived in one. It's just when I was a kid, like when I was like 4, my dad owned a business called Van City, and he used to convert vans into like those like shaggin' wagons, but he also had like the really classy versions he used to do for the dealerships. So that's sort of, I was there like 4 or 5. I was like making buttons for the upholstery. I was like cleaning up the shop, going through all the materials like around the shop and everything. So right there is like, that never left me working on vehicles.
And that's amazing advice. And last but not least, I'm going to go to Roop on this. Roop, you've been through, as from your story, you know, ups and downs, trials and tribulations. Sometimes it worked out, a lot of times it didn't. What has kept you inspired and to maintain the course after all these years and through all these challenges? Oh, your microphone, Roop. Microphone. Right back. There you go. No problem.
Yeah, honestly, I've been like this my entire life. I see something I want and I go for it. There's not much that's going to get me to stop, even though there was a few times where you tear up, you figure out what the hell you're doing in life and what you got to do about what you've been doing and what you got to change to get where you want to get. And it's just, as long as you have that goal that you know that's what you want, there should be nothing that'll stop you from getting it.
Man, inspirational worlds. Well, gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for being ambassadors of our industry, for being the outstanding installers that you are. Sincerely, from myself and from everybody here at CMA, as well as everybody who's watching, I am sure we wish you all the best of luck. Once again, Tim, we congratulate you on your continued success and obviously holding the title up. We give you all the positive energy that we can so that we can take that back to Canada once again. And with that, thank you very much, gentlemen. Good luck, and we bid you adieu for this evening. All right. So there you have it, folks. What an incredible night. I hope that you enjoyed as much as I did. the goal and the mission from the beginning for this episode was to give a spotlight for these guys. They deserve it. And there hasn't maybe been enough media there or platforms there to be able to promote these guys. And I'm proud to say I'm part of a platform that's emerging, that we're building on, and that hopefully will be an asset to the industry. That's what the goal is. Just real quick, of course, this show cannot happen without our sponsor, SiriusXM. Make sure you check out SiriusXM.ca/SXV300. SXV300, of course, is to learn about all the amazing benefits of adding the Connect Vehicle Tuner to your SiriusXM ready car stereo, including how to save 2 ways with 3 months free. Imagine that, 3 months free and a free tuner after $80 rebate. That's SiriusXM.ca/SXV300. Hey, I'm Ben Wu, your host for CMA Live. Tune in again in 2 weeks, where we're going to have a brand new podcast for y'all. Make sure you check on our Facebook page, Canadian Mobile Audio, as well as our website, CanadianMobileAudio.com, and all the other social media platforms. This next few days, all we'll be doing is showcasing the work these guys have done. Make sure you check out our install base section, our feature dealer, as well as our feature installer articles. But in the time being, thanks for tuning in. CMA Live, SiriusXM. We'll see you in 2 weeks.